Hi guys, one of the most controversial topics in the sales arena and with the businesses is what should the KPIs be for a salesperson, either phone based or out in the field? Well, two things we know that drive sales, and that's the first one being activity, and the second one is the quality of that activity. Now, I've worked in environments where there's been some, uh, a gap in between uh, management expectations or what they see as a successful KPI, and then the salesperson themselves, and they're just not aligned. So I've walked into organisations where, as an example, there have been no KPIs. And when I talk to the management team, they go, well, we're going okay, but we really want to elevate our results. And, it's okay, but not great. Then I'll talk to the sales professionals. I go, how do you think you're going? They go, exceptional, smashing it out of the park. So there's a disconnect, and often it comes around that KPI or lack of the KPI. Just on the other side of things, often we get in the call centres, for example, we want you making X amount of calls per day, and that's your set KPI. But what is missed in many occasions is the quality of that call. So it is necessary to have the kind of expectations around number of calls or number of visits for a sales professional, but just as important, and well, probably more important, is that quality of that activity. So if we just talk to phone-based selling at the moment, because it's probably more common, particularly in the environment we're in right now, it does depend on the nature of the sales call or the objective of it, but I'll just talk in general terms across a broad spectrum at the moment. Now, one of them is like, what's the right number of calls to set for a salesperson? Now, first of all, I'd take it a step back and back solve it. First of all, what type of call do you want the salesperson to make? And should it be a planned call? And I would say in 99.9% of cases, the call should be planned. There should be a bit of research done on who they're going to be calling first. That could take up 2 to 5 minutes, just quickly referring, having a look up the client's details, either online or through the database. And then the structure of a call. So, what are the opening questions I'm going to ask when I make the call? What's the purpose of my call? What's that going to be stated? And that should be practiced before actually picking up the phone. The reason it's so important is if you're just blindly calling opportunities, they're not expecting your call in many cases. And if you're not structured in your approach and it doesn't hit the mark with the person taking the call, it's just a wasted call. And to put that in context, there was a company I was working with. There was an individual making 40 odd plus calls a day, which is outstanding, one would think. Uh, so, however, there was no quality in it. So the conversion was just zero. So 40 calls a day, but just wasn't landing anywhere. So there's a measure of, on the other scale of it, the quality of the call could be fantastic, but you're not doing enough of them to get where you need to go. So firstly, structure out how the call should look at, do your research before you pick up the phone, um, really know what your purpose is, and then define your two or three questions at the beginning with a customer to extract the information you need to make sure you can align with those needs. And then set up your process as of what's going to happen next. So you should know that before you even pick up the phone. What's the next steps after this call, and continue going from there. There's a methodology I use. It's called the 9 touch point methodology, but it's a little bit too much to talk to today. But it's where you can continue to build those relationships. So that's around the quality of the call. Now let's talk about the numbers of the call. Well, it's fairly simplistic. What you've got to do is often work it backwards. So look at where your business is at today. It could be how many active customers you've got, what's the average transaction value, and work that back. And then you set your kind of forecasted number where you'd like to be hitting, and then use that scale to kind of work out how many calls do I need to make. Now, initially, you may not know what your conversion rate's going to be, so it's really a good idea to kind of review that over the first month, either weekly or daily, And then kind of like, yep, so on average, 10 calls I make outbound. Um, with this approach, I'm converting X amount of customers. And that will then give you the answer you're looking for, which is how many calls do I need to make? Obviously, if the conversion's low, it's a higher number of calls. But if you're converting and you're doing really good calls, the call number needs to be revised accordingly for that. Hope those tips help. Do I believe in KPIs? 100%. The two things, activity and quality of activity, that's what drives growth in a business. If you'd like more information, just drop me a message. And if you'd like a little bit of information on the 9 touch point methodology, please reach out. Have a great day.